Every man gets this backwards. You think giving more love, more attention, more affection will make her want you more. You text constantly, shower her with compliments, make yourself available 24/7. Then you watch in confusion as her interest evaporates. Today, I'm revealing the counterintuitive truth about female attraction, why less creates more, why distance creates closeness, and why the moment you stop trying is often the moment she starts chasing. But first, let me destroy the biggest lie you've been told about relationships. Women say they want a man who cares, who's attentive, who makes them feel special, and they do to a point. But there's a threshold where care becomes suffocation, attention becomes neediness, and making her feel special makes you seem worthless. The paradox of female desire is that getting exactly what they ask for often kills exactly what they actually want. Here's the brutal truth about attraction. Women aren't attracted to love, they're attracted to value, and value is perceived through scarcity, not abundance. When you're constantly available, constantly giving, constantly pursuing, you're communicating that your time, attention, and affection are worthless. Why? Because valuable things aren't desperately given away. They're earned, competed for, cherished. I counseled a man who did everything right. Texted good morning every day, planned elaborate dates, bought thoughtful gifts, always available when she needed him. After 6 months, she left him for a guy who barely texted back and forgot her birthday. Why? Because the second guy's attention felt valuable. His indifference created mystery. His unavailability created desire. His emotional distance created emotional pursuit. The first principle you need to understand: female attraction operates on emotional hunger, not emotional satisfaction. A woman who's emotionally satisfied doesn't pursue. She relaxes. A woman who's emotionally hungry does pursue. She invests. Most men try to satisfy when they should be creating appetite. You're feeding her a buffet when she needs to be a little hungry. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding the psychological dynamics of desire. When you overgive attention, you create emotional seti. She's full. She doesn't need more. When you give measured attention, you create emotional appetite. She wants more. She thinks about you. She pursues you. Let me explain what happens in her brain when you overgive. Every text you send releases dopamine at first, but quickly habituation sets in. Your constant presence becomes background noise. Your availability becomes expectation. Your attention loses all value because it requires no effort to obtain. You've turned yourself from a prize into a participation trophy. The second principle: women don't fall in love with men who need them. They fall in love with men who want them but don't need them. Need is repulsive. Want is attractive. When you're constantly seeking her validation, her response, her attention, you're communicating need. When you have your own life, your own purpose, your own fulfillment, you communicate want. Most men confuse attachment with love. You're not in love. You're addicted to her validation. You're not pursuing her. You're pursuing the feeling she gives you. This isn't love. It's emotional dependency. And women can smell emotional dependency like sharks smell blood. It triggers their flight response, not their desire. Here's a test. Could you walk away right now? If the answer is no, you're not in love. You're in need. Love comes from abundance, from choice. Need comes from scarcity, from fear. Women are attracted to men who choose them from abundance, not men who cling to them from scarcity. The third principle: a woman's behavior toward you matters infinitely more than her beauty, status, or any other quality. Most men are so focused on what she looks like, they ignore how she treats them. You're so grateful for her presence. You don't evaluate her behavior. This is backwards. Her treatment of you determines your value in her eyes. A woman who respects you, pursues you, invests in you, that's a woman who values you. A woman you have to chase, convince, impress. That's a woman who sees you as an option, not a priority. Stop trying to win women who aren't trying to win you. The right woman won't require convincing. The fourth principle: your obsession is your weakness. Every time you check her social media, you weaken. Every time you analyze her texts, you weaken. Every time you wonder what she's doing, who she's with, why she hasn't responded, you weaken. Obsession is not love. It's anxiety. And anxiety is the death of attraction. Women are attracted to emotional stability, not emotional volatility. When you're obsessing, you're unstable. Your emotional state depends on her behavior. She controls your mood with her response time. This isn't attractive. It's pathetic. A man whose emotional state depends on a woman's behavior is a man who's given away his power. The fifth principle: complementary feeding in relationships. Relationships require balance. Giving and receiving, pursuing and being pursued, investing and being invested in. When you overgive, you create imbalance. She becomes the taker, you become the giver. This dynamic kills attraction because it removes her ability to invest, to give, to pursue. Women need to invest, to attach. When you do everything, give everything, provide everything, you rob her of the opportunity to invest. And without investment, there's no attachment. She can't value what cost her nothing. She can't treasure what requires no effort. You're trying to buy her love with your effort, but love can't be bought. It must be earned mutually. The sixth principle: self-improvement is the only real attraction trigger. Not tricks, not games, not manipulation. Genuine self-development. Women are attracted to men who are going somewhere, building something, becoming something. Not for her, but for themselves. The moment your improvement is for her, it loses its power. When you develop skills, build your body, advance your career, expand your knowledge, not to impress her, but to improve yourself, you become genuinely attractive. This isn't about external achievements. It's about the internal state of a man who's growing. Growth is attractive. Stagnation is repulsive. I've seen broke men with options and rich men with none. The difference: internal state. The broke man, improving, building, growing. He radiates potential. The rich man, stagnating, desperate, needy. He radiates desperation. Women aren't attracted to what you have. They're attracted to who you're becoming. The seventh principle: your internal state determines your external reality. Women don't respond to your words, your looks, or your money primarily. They respond to your internal state, your confidence, your self-assurance, your emotional independence. These can't be faked long-term. They must be genuinely developed. When you're anxious, she feels it. When you're desperate, she senses it. When you're needy, she knows it. Not through your words, but through thousands of micro-behaviors you don't even realize you're exhibiting. The way you text, the way you look at her, the way you respond to her tests. Your internal state broadcasts constantly. Here's what actually triggers attraction without trying: complete emotional independence. When you genuinely don't need her approval, her attention, her validation, that's when she wants to give it. When your happiness doesn't depend on her response, that's when she wants to respond. When you could walk away without devastation, that's when she doesn't want you to. The eighth principle: women are attracted to men who choose them, not men who need them. Choice implies options. Need implies desperation. When you're pursuing her like she's your only option, she knows she's your only option. When you're choosing her from abundance, she knows she's special. The energy is completely different. This is why men who stop trying often trigger pursuit. Not because they're playing games, but because stopping the try-hard behavior communicates abundance. It says, I have options. I have value. I don't need to convince you. This shift in energy often triggers her pursuit instinct for the first time. The ninth principle: focus on your journey, not the result. The moment you're focused on getting her, you've already lost. She becomes the prize, you become the competitor. But when you focus on your journey, your growth, your development, you become the prize. She becomes the one hoping to be chosen. Your goal isn't to win women. Your goal is to become a man who doesn't need to win women. To become so valuable, so confident, so self-assured that women want to win you. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. It's knowing your worth and not compromising it for anyone's approval. The 10th principle: practical self-worth. Building requires daily action, not massive changes, but consistent small improvements. Complete tasks you set for yourself. Develop discipline in small areas. Keep promises to yourself. Each kept promise builds self-trust. Each completed task builds self-esteem. Each disciplined action builds self-respect. Go to the gym not to look good for her, but to respect your body. Learn skills not to impress her, but to expand yourself. Build your career not to provide for her, but to fulfill your potential. When you do things for yourself, they have power. When you do them for her approval, they have none. The 11th principle. Women test constantly, and your response determines attraction. Every test is asking the same question. Are you really as confident as you seem? When you react emotionally, you fail. When you remain unaffected, you pass. Not through clever responses, but through genuine indifference to the test. She pulls away to see if you'll chase. She creates drama to see if you'll panic. She flirts with others to see if you mate guard. These aren't conscious manipulations. Usually, they're instinctive probes for weakness. The man who doesn't react, who maintains his center, who continues his path regardless, that man triggers deep attraction. Let me give you the practical formula. Reduce your availability by 70%. If you typically text back immediately, wait hours. If you're always free when she calls, be busy sometimes. If you always initiate contact, stop and see what happens. This isn't game playing if it's genuine. If you're actually busy building your life, create genuine scarcity by having a life. Have goals that matter more than her response time. Have activities that engage you more than wondering what she's doing. Have friends who provide social fulfillment beyond her. When your life is full, your attention becomes valuable. When your attention is valuable, it triggers desire. Here's what most men don't understand. Women want to wonder about you. They want mystery. They want to discover you slowly, not have you dump your entire emotional inventory on them immediately. The man who reveals everything immediately has no depth to explore. The man who reveals slowly maintains intrigue indefinitely. Stop explaining yourself constantly. Stop justifying your actions. Stop seeking her approval for your decisions. Make decisions and let her respond how she will. This isn't about being dismissive or disrespectful. It's about being self-directed. You're the captain of your ship, not a passenger on hers. The practical application for the next 30 days, focus entirely on yourself. Don't pursue anyone. Don't try to trigger attraction. Just build yourself. Gym, work, skills, hobbies, friendships. Watch what happens. Women who ignored you suddenly reach out. Women who took you for granted suddenly show interest. Not because you're playing games, but because you've shifted from needy to needed. Understand this. Women are attracted to men who are going somewhere with or without them. When your mission is clear, your path is set, and her presence is welcome but not necessary, that's when she wants to join your journey. But when she is your journey, when she is your mission, she feels the pressure and runs. The deeper truth about emotional hunger. Women don't want a man who fills all their emotional needs. They want a man who triggers their emotional investment. When you're too available, too giving, too attentive, you remove the space for her to invest. She can't give when you won't stop giving. She can't pursue when you won't stop pursuing. Think about the men women obsess over. Are they the ones constantly available, constantly texting, constantly affirming? Number. They're the ones who are slightly out of reach, somewhat mysterious, not entirely attainable. This doesn't mean it means being a challenge, and challenge creates value in her psychological framework. The mistake men make is thinking they need to earn her love through effort. But love isn't earned through effort, it's triggered through value, and value isn't communicated through giving. It's communicated through being confident, being independent, growing, choosing rather than chasing. Real-life example, I knew a man who spent years chasing a woman. Constant texts, gifts, availability. She treated him like an option. He finally gave up, focused on himself, started a business, got in shape, developed hobbies. 6 months later, she's blowing up his phone. He didn't try to trigger anything. He just became valuable. And value triggers attraction naturally. Here's the test of whether you're doing this right. Are you becoming someone you respect? If you're just pretending to be busy to seem valuable, that's manipulation and it won't last. If you're genuinely building a life you're proud of, that's development and it's permanently attractive. The paradox resolution. You trigger attraction by not trying to trigger attraction. You become attractive by focusing on becoming, not on attracting. You create desire by having desires beyond her. You generate pursuit by pursuing your own goals more than you pursue her. Women often complain that men change after commitment. Stop trying. Stop pursuing. Stop investing. But here's the irony. The men who stop trying after commitment are often more attractive than the ones who never stop trying. Because the energy of neediness, even accidentally, triggers more desire than constant pursuit ever could, the biological reality. Women are attracted to strength, and strength doesn't chase. Strength chooses. Strength evaluates. Strength decides. When you're chasing, you're communicating weakness. When you're choosing, you're communicating strength. And this isn't social conditioning. It's biological programming that spans millennia. Stop seeing dating as convincing women to choose you. Start seeing it as you evaluating whether they meet your standards. This mindset shift changes everything. Your energy changes, your behavior changes, your attractiveness changes, because a man who's choosing is infinitely more attractive than a man who's hoping to be chosen. The practical daily application. Every morning, remind yourself, I don't need anyone's validation today. Every interaction, maintain your center. Don't let her mood determine yours. Every decision, make it from your values, not her potential response. This builds the internal state that naturally triggers attraction. Let me be specific about distinguishing love from attachment. Attachment says, I need you to feel complete. Love says, I'm complete and choose to share that with you. Attachment fears loss. Love accepts all possibilities. Attachment creates desperation. Love creates appreciation. Most men are attached, not in love, and women sense the difference instantly. When you're attached, you'll do anything to keep her. Compromise your values, abandon your friends, sacrifice your goals. This isn't romantic. It's pathetic. When you're in love from completeness, you maintain your standards. You'd rather lose her than lose yourself. Ironically, this makes you much harder to lose. The importance of how she treats you can't be overstated. A woman who disrespects your time by constantly being late isn't excited to see you. A woman who dismisses your interest isn't interested in knowing you. A woman who criticizes you publicly doesn't respect you. These behaviors tell you everything about your future together. Men ignore these signals because they're so focused on her physical beauty or sexual availability. But beauty fades, sex becomes routine, and then you're left with someone who doesn't actually like you. Prioritize her behavior towards you over everything else. A woman who adores you but is average looking beats a model who treats you like an option. Here's the truth about over-attachment. It's not love, it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not finding another, fear of rejection, and fear is the opposite of attractive. When you're operating from fear, every action reeks of desperation. When you're operating from abundance, every action radiates confidence. The communication frequency obsession that plagues modern men is destroying attraction. Counting texts, analyzing response times, keeping score of who initiated last. This isn't love, it's insecurity. A confident man sends a text when he has something to say, then forgets about it until she responds. An insecure man watches his phone like his life depends on her reply. Self-improvement as core attraction goes deeper than surface changes. It's not just about getting muscles or money. It's about developing character, building competence, creating value. A man who can fix things, build things, create things, lead things. That's attractive at a primal level, not because of what he can provide, but because of what his abilities say about his genes, his mindset, his potential. When you develop real skills, woodworking, martial arts, music, business, you develop real confidence. Not the fake confidence of affirmations, but the real confidence of competence. Women are attracted to competence because it signals ability to handle life's challenges. Every skill you master makes you more attractive, not for the skill itself, but for what mastering it reveals about you. Here's what internal state really means. It's your emotional baseline when you're alone. If you're anxious and desperate alone, you'll be anxious and desperate with her. If you're peaceful and content alone, you'll be peaceful and content with her. Women aren't attracted to men who need them for emotional regulation. They're attracted to men who are already regulated. The journey-focused mindset transforms everything. When you're focused on becoming the best version of yourself, rejection becomes redirection. Failure becomes feedback. Loss becomes a lesson. A woman leaving doesn't devastate you because your purpose transcends any relationship. Your mission continues regardless of who's beside you. Here's the ultimate truth about triggering attraction without trying. It happens when you genuinely value yourself more than any woman's opinion of you, when your self-respect is non-negotiable, when your standards are higher than your hormones, when you'd rather be alone than accepted by someone who doesn't see your value. The man who triggers attraction without trying isn't playing games. He's playing life at a level where games become irrelevant. He's so engaged with his purpose, his growth, his contribution, that female attention becomes a nice addition rather than a necessity. This isn't indifference, it's priority, and priority is attractive. Stop trying to decode her messages. Stop trying to impress her friends. Stop trying to be what you think she wants. Stop being unapologetically yourself. But the best version, the version that keeps promises to himself, the version that pursues excellence, the version that chooses based on value alignment, not just physical attraction. The transformation from chaser to chosen happens when you realize you're the prize. Not in an arrogant way, but in a factual way. You're a man who's building something. You're a man who's becoming something. You're a man who stands for something. That's rare. That's valuable. That's attractive. Remember, attraction isn't triggered by what you do for her. It's triggered by who you are without her. The man who needs nothing from a woman can give everything to a woman. The man who's completely alone can truly complement someone else. The man who's his own source of validation becomes someone worth validating. The practical path forward. Delete her number if you check it obsessively. Unfollow if you're analyzing posts. Step back if you're overinvested, not as punishment or manipulation, but as self-care. You need space to remember who you are without her presence. In that space, you'll either realize she wasn't that special, or you'll become special enough that she notices the loss. Let me address the lessons from real-life examples more deeply. Every man who stopped over-pleasing and saw women initiate contact learned the same lesson. Desperation repels, self-sufficiency attracts. It's not about external success. It's about the internal state that creates external success. Past failures stemmed from emotional neediness, not lack of resources. The broke, confident man attracts more than the rich, desperate man. The effort paradox needs to be understood. The harder you try to get her, the faster she runs. The less you need her approval, the more she wants to give it. This isn't because women are contrary. It's because neediness signals low value, while independence signals high value. Your effort should go toward building yourself, not convincing her. When you build yourself, you don't need to convince anyone. The emphasis on journey over result can't be overstated. When you're focused on the result, getting her, you become outcome dependent, needy, unattractive. When you're focused on the journey, becoming better, you become process-oriented, growing, attractive. The journey makes you attractive. The result focus makes you repulsive. True internal state and self-esteem aren't built through women's validation. They're built through keeping promises to yourself, achieving goals you set, overcoming challenges you face. Women can sense whether your confidence is internally generated or externally dependent. Internal confidence is unshakable and attractive. External confidence is fragile and repulsive. Gentlemen, the simplest way to trigger attraction is to stop needing it. Focus on building a life so engaging that female attention becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Become a man so valuable that your attention is a gift, not a given. Develop an internal state so solid that external validation becomes irrelevant. When you genuinely don't need her approval, her attention, her validation, that's when she wants to give it most. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely hard to get. You're busy becoming something worth getting. The ultimate paradox of love and desire. The more love you give from need, the less desire you create. The more you focus on your own growth, the more desire you trigger. Women want to earn your love, not have it given freely. They want to pursue your attention, not have it forced upon them. They want to invest in your journey, not be the journey itself. I want to hear from you. What happens when you stop chasing? How did focusing on yourself change your dating dynamics? What shifted when you stopped trying so hard? Share your experiences below. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your love life is to forget about your love life and focus on your life.